Alright, welcome to the Canon 6D. I'm going to show you how to set up the camera for shooting in RAW and Adobe RGB. So the on switch is just here, so just turn the camera on, and the easiest way of doing this is to hit the Q button. Here's the Q button here. If you just press the Q button, it'll activate a menu on the back of the camera, and what we're going to look at are these functions here. This one here that says L at the moment, so I'll just press the Q button again, and to move this square around I just depress this joystick function on the back of the camera here. You just move this wherever I want it to be. It's got the set button in the middle of it, so I'm going to move this down to this L and press the set button, and then with the finger wheel on the top of the camera up here that you can just see off camera, I'm going to move that across to RAW, and with the thumb wheel, which is this one, this is the thumb wheel, I'm going to move that across to nothing, so there's no JPEG. So now we're shooting in RAW, and I'll depress the set button and it'll remember it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move up to this, which is called the autocorrect image brightness and contrast. Press the set button and turn it to off. Disable that. Great. I'm going to not pay any attention to that one. I'll leave the white balance on auto, and the image effects I will change to neutral, and press set once again. So always press set when you want to change something. Now I'm going to move up to the ISO up here. So I'll move up to the ISO, there's the ISO, press set and change this to 100 for the time being. And for the time being I'm going to leave it on 100, but if it gets a bit darker I'll change it to 800 or something like that. But at the moment I'm just going to leave it on 100. So I never leave it on auto, that's the point, never leave it on auto. And I think I finished with the back, so I press the Q button, and now I'm going to go to the menu button, press menu, and I'm going to ignore these things on the front. None of these are very important to me. I'm going to move across by depressing the little joystick control on the back there. I'm going to make sure the lens aberration correction is set to disable. So it's always just enter there, enter that area by pressing the set button. So I'm going to move down to this, press set, set it to disable, press set again, and then to go back, press the menu button and I go back. And I'm going to move on to the next menu setting. Exposure compensation I'm going to leave alone, auto lighting's good, white balance is good, and color space, press set, change that to Adobe RGB, press set again, and good, everything in there is fine. I'll move along to the next one. I'm going to change the long exposure noise reduction. Nope, I'm going to leave that. High ISO speed noise reduction, I'm just going to turn that down to off. That's fine. Alright, everything else is good. We'll move along to the next thing. Yes, that's fine, all that's good. Those are fine. That's good, and we'll leave that like that is. Alright, all of this is good, we'll leave that. That's fine. Now the auto rotate, might possibly just put that to on for that, not for the camera. If you wish to erase everything on the card, this is where you can do it. It's called format the card. If you press set, it will give you the option to format the card, so you can press OK. I'm going to format this card. Good, that card's formatted now, so everything's erased off that card. That's the best way to do it. Move along to the next one. Now auto power, if you press set you can change how long you want the camera to stay awake for or sleep. I've just put it on disable while I'm doing this, but most of the time it's defaulted to 1 minute, so I'm just going to leave it on disable for the moment for me. And the LCD brightness, yes, we'll probably leave that at 4, that's fine. And we'll move on to the next one, and all of that's not important to us, none of that, that's good. Okay, and I'm just going to escape by pressing the menu button again, and just to double check, I'll press the Q button on the back. Good, so I've got my picture style, my image size set to RAW, which is good. ISO speed's 100, excellent. I'm going to leave my white balance at auto, picture style is neutral, and at the moment my camera is set to AV mode. If I change the mode dial on top, now it's gone to M for manual, and we're finished with that. Okay, so on the other side of the camera we have, I guess you could say it's the on and off switch, which is pretty obvious just here, and we also have the mode dial. So at the moment my mode's set to M, which is right opposite this white stripe. If I depress this button just a little bit here, depress it, I can actually turn the mode dial and I can change it to aperture priority, shutter speed priority, program, auto, and these other settings we won't concern ourselves with. I'll just put it back to M for manual. This B is for bulb. We'll explain that a little bit more. So just make sure the M is opposite here, or the aperture priority is opposite to here, and the camera will function in those modes for you. On the back of the camera is the thumb wheel. This is a thumb wheel here, and the thumb wheel will change the aperture. So as you can see, just here inside the viewfinder, this aperture is changing as I turn the thumb wheel. Now it's f10, f11, so if I turn it back, it decreases the aperture and goes all the way down to 1.4, which is the maximum aperture of the lens, so that changes the aperture. Now the finger wheel, just here, this will change the shutter speed, and as you can see in the view screen here, shutter speed's changing. Alright, making it faster or slower just by changing those that finger wheel setting just there. Thumb wheel for aperture, finger wheel for shutter speed. If I'd like to change the ISO on the fly, so to speak, if I just press the ISO button on the top of the camera here, just press this button, and in here it shows the ISO. If I change the finger wheel, you see the ISO is changing, and I can change it to any ISO I like, and then once I've finished, I can depress the shutter on the front, just half a press, and it exits, and I've changed the ISO. Those people who have bad eyesight, just a little wheel just here is called the diopic meter, and what it does is it corrects your eyesight, and as you can see there's a nice smooth part to it amongst all the little knobbly bits, and when you've got that set between the plus and the minus sign, it's neutral and it's not making any lens correction for your eyesight. So if you wear glasses, the way to do this is to make sure the beep function is on, focus on something with the camera, wait for the beep to sound, then remove your glasses and hold the camera very still at the place that you focused, and just refocus again until you hear the beep, and then turn the diopic meter either in the plus direction or the minus direction until the image becomes clear on the viewfinder for you and you've got it set to your eyesight, so you don't have to wear glasses when you're using it. On the side of the lens here is the autofocus manual switch. When you can see a little white stripe here, you know the camera is in autofocus. If you push it back, now it's a black stripe on this side that shows it's in manual focus, and we'll push it back the other way, and now it's back in autofocus again. Very important to know where that is. Looking at the front of the camera, this is called the shutter release button. The shutter release button works in two stages. It has half a press. If you depress it half a press, it will focus, and if you fully depress it, it will take a picture. So just remember there are two stages to it. You can feel the half a press if you just gently press it half a press, and then a full press and it will take a picture. It's also the exit button for when you're in the menus on the back of the camera. Now, underneath the bottom of the camera here is a little button. People are wondering what it is. This is called the depth of field preview button. So if you depress it while you're looking through the viewfinder and the camera is on, you will be given a depth of field preview, and we'll explain that a bit more. So this is where it is. It's called the depth of field preview button, and it's just underneath the lens here. When you're ready to download your pictures, if you lift this flap up here, this rubber flap, underneath here you'll see the USB jack, and you can plug your USB in. Make sure the camera is off when you do this. Plug it in here, plug the other end into the computer, and then once they're both plugged in, then you can turn the camera on and you can download your pictures. So please don't take the memory card out, just use this USB jack and the USB provided inside the bag.